Hello, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time, be sure to subscribe. If you like the video, give it a like and a comment or something. Show me that you exist. So I'm a huge Game Boy fan. Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, all of it. Obviously, I have a ton of Game Boys. Game Boy's coming out of... Oh, here's another one. So I spent hours and hours and hours playing through Tetris and Super Mario Land and Spider-Man and Ninja Turtles on my Game Boy on road trips at the beach or just when I was bored growing up. And I'm sure you've heard the rumors going all around right now that the Game Boy and Game Boy Color platforms are coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service. And I have a few reasons to be... I think it's gonna happen, but I think people need to pump their brakes a little bit about the excitement. Okay, so stepping back a little bit, there's been a ton of online chatter about Nintendo bringing their Game Boy and Game Boy Color platforms to the Nintendo Switch Online service via emulators, the same way that they do the NES and SNES right now. There's also a lot of people that complain about the lack of a virtual console storefront like they had for the Wii U and Wii 3DS. Yeah, there's a virtual console on the 3DS. And like how Nintendo Switch Online is the only way to access some of these games. If I'm being honest, I actually kind of like the system that's in place right now. There may be like half a dozen titles that I would really like to see be there that aren't there. And a lot of them, there's other ways to play them. So some games, they either have like their own third-party game or like collection or something available on Switch. The way that it's set up right now, there's one glaring flaw in this whole model, and I will get to that shortly. So the rumors of additional consoles date way back to 2019 when there was a data mine leak about 4 emulators. The 4 emulators were named Kachi, Canoe, Count, and HEYYY. So Kachi is the NES and Canoe is the SNES. So there's 2 other emulators that aren't accounted for. So after a lot of speculation by Nate the Hate and MVG on the Formers podcast recently, reports came out from Nintendo Life and Eurogamer, both independently corroborating the imminent release of Game Boy and Game Boy Color games onto the Nintendo Switch Online service. So I was streaming online on Twitch when the news broke, so be sure to follow me on Twitch, link in the bio. And we started discussing it in the chat, and then that continued into my Discord server after my stream. Be sure to join the Discord server. So the discussion became what games would be coming to this new service. So the one thing to note is that there are no high-profile third-party games on the Nintendo Switch Online NES or SNES collections. It's first party and some smaller third party games. That's it. So missing from the service is like Mega Man, Castlevania, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, even Super Mario RPG, a joint project between Nintendo and Square, is absent. And a lot of these games made it onto the NES Classic and SNES Classic mini consoles. And so what this leads me to think is that there's some sort of negotiation that's either isn't taking place or is taking place between Nintendo and these third-party members of these titles that aren't being released on it. I'm guessing that Nintendo is trying to kind of strong arm not letting go of revenues from this or splitting, revenue sharing. That's my best guess as to why these games don't exist on the service. And so I call this kind of like a games as a service model. Similar, I mean, it's not the exact same as like Game Pass or PS Now, but essentially you're paying to have access to a library of games. There's not a whole lot of information about how the publishers and developers get paid for titles that end up on these services. So with that in mind, I started looking around at like the best Game Boy games, because I had a really weird style with the games that I would play. And so I want to know, what were the most popular? What were the highest rated games? And I want to know what the chances are of these games making it to this new service. So let's do it. First, Kirby's Dreamland, and Dreamland 2. I think this is a shoe-in for being on the platform. It's the original Kirby game. It's going to be there. Super Mario Land 1, 2, 3 is Wario Land. I think all those titles, maybe not all at launch, but I think all those titles will eventually make it onto the service. There's nothing holding those back, so I think those will be on. Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, and Oracle of Seasons. I think there's a better than not chance that they will make it on there. The only thing is who developed Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons? Capcom developed it. I think there's a chance that they might not be on there. So I don't know. I'll give that one a 50-50 now. Pokemon. I think there's a slim to no chance that any Pokemon game will make it onto this unless Nintendo has hashed out some sort of deal with Game Freak, because if you remember, Pokemon is a joint venture. The Pokemon Company, which wholly owns Pokemon, is a joint venture between Game Freak and Nintendo. So Game Freak will want a kickback if Pokemon games are added to the service. And so I think it would be a massive accomplishment and could open the door for future titles that are missing from the other platforms should a single Pokemon game make it onto the service. And so maybe that's one of the big cards they're holding. I think it would be huge to include, red, blue, gold, silver, gold, crystal. Donkey Kong 94, definitely gonna make it. That was a game that utilized the Super Game Boy a lot, which I think it was cool. It had the whole border and everything. I think they will utilize Super Game Boy assets in a similar way. Metroid 2, I think will be there. There's no reason for it not to be. Lynx Awakening. I'm torn on this because Nintendo has a tendency to not cannibalize themselves with games that they just remade. I mean, I know it's been 2 years, but that's 30 days in Nintendo time. I think there's a chance it could be on there, but with the remake, Tetris might make it, but there's so many Tetris games already on the Switch. I don't know that it will really matter. Mega Man, Castlevania, I don't think that they will be on there. I don't think we'll get any Capcom, Konami games. We won't get any licensed games. No Ninja Turtles, no Spider-Man, no Gargoyles, DuckTales, Batman, Harry Potter games even were coming out on Game Boy Color. None of that we're not gonna get. We will not see any of that. Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy Legends games, don't expect to see those. There's a reason why Super Mario RPG isn't on there. Kid Dracula, Metal Gear Solid, Dragon Warrior series. I don't think we'll see any of those. These are all the top games for the Game Boy, and so you see what's happening here. It's thinning rapidly. Shantae, the Game Boy Color version, is out on the Switch already. Donkey Kong Country is just a port of the SNES version, and my friend Meander, I'll link it right here, did a very in-depth side-by-side between the SNES and the Game Boy Color versions. Proves that it is a inferior product in more ways than just the graphics. That may come, but you don't want to play that. Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, I think those could be on there. I think they're different enough from the current versions of the game to warrant them being on there, and there's no obstacles with third parties. And so yeah, with that, I don't see a whole lot more. It's very thin with how Nintendo seems to be doing this. That the Game Boy and Game Boy Color libraries don't have that robust first party support that NES and SNES did, and that's why I'm not getting my hopes up that a lot of the games that made me fall in love with Game Boys are gonna be there when it arrives. If it arrives, you know what, it probably won't even arrive, because Nintendo does whatever the hell they want, and they could even see all these reports and they're like, nah, never mind, screw it, not doing it anymore. So if Nintendo can somehow manage to get Link's Awakening and some of the Pokemon titles that start, I think that would be huge. I think it would be massive. I think it would be a great move. If they don't get any of those, I think it's going to be a huge letdown. There's going to be a ton of backlash, and I'm worried that that's going to be the case. And like I said, there's a chance that Nintendo's just sitting on all this, and that the rumors are just, they're old, or Nintendo changed plans 6 months ago, and it could be like the OLED Nintendo Switch Pro rumors that was all but guaranteed, and it was just got all mixed up. Now, there is one more matter at hand, and that's that fourth emulator. I think it's got to either be the Game Boy Advance or the N64. I'm leaning towards Game Boy Advance because I think it would just make more sense. The N64 has a lot of quirks to it that I don't think that Nintendo would have just been sitting on this. I know there is an N64 emulator because they emulated Mario 64 for the All-Star Collection, but it wouldn't make any sense for them to jump to GameCube or something like that. You know what? I bet it's the Virtual Boy. I bet they're putting out the full Virtual Boy library on Nintendo Switch Online, and it has to use the Labo VR that they discontinued. That's what's happening. That sounds like the most Nintendo move. We're done. We're done here. You can close it all off. I solved it. I solved the mystery. What are your thoughts on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color potentially coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service? Are you excited? Do you think that they can pull off all this third-party support that the Game Boy was so dependent on? Do you think they're gonna bundle in other systems? Like Official No Friendo has a video where he predicts that there's more than just the Game Boy and Game Boy Color system coming in this next release. But yeah, do you think that we'll see Pikachu and Charizard in all their 8-bit glory on the Nintendo Switch natively? Let me know. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Check it out. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you on the flip side. Cheers. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter too. I want to see more of you there. Goodbye.